Good afternoon. I now call the January 28, 2020 special work session of the Marion County School Board to order at 3:23 p.m. Please silence all of your electronic devices and avoid disturbing others. Before we get started today, I would like to make a public announcement of a recent advertising error that occurred in regard to the January 21st, 2020 SHADE meeting. At the board's January 9th, 2020 work session, I requested a special work session to be held on January 21st, 2020. After I made that request and the board's acknowledged, I turned the floor over to the board's attorney, who then requested a SHADE meeting to allow the board to discuss its litigation strategy in regards to lawsuits filed by Henry G. Farrell and Dr. Heidi Mayer versus Marion County School Board. The board and its council made the appropriate request for a special work session and for it to be scheduled and advertised. For unknown reasons, my request for the special work session was not advertised. I did not discover this until I arrived for the special work session and was told that only the SHADE meeting had been advertised. So due to this error, the board was unable to hold this requested special work session. To avoid wasting taxpayer money in regard to the re-advertising legal fees for the attorney to prepare for the meeting and the court reporter's time, the board held this advertised SHADE meeting. The January 21st, 2020 SHADE meeting started at 9:03 a.m. and ended at 9:19 a.m. and was recorded by a certified court reporter. The following people were present at the January 21st, 2020 SHADE meeting: Eric Cummings, Board Chair; Nancy Thorough, Vice Chair; Nancy Stacy, Beth McCall, Kelly King, Attorney Suzanne Green, and the certified court reporter. The transcript for that meeting will be available to the public when the litigation has ended. I bring this to the public's attention to formally document that the SHADE meeting was conducted and apologize for the advertising error. Thank you for your understanding. I'll now ask the school board attorney to explain the rules for the board meeting.
This work session is a public meeting as defined in Florida's Sunshine Law. The board is dedicated to full transparency in its meeting and its work. In compliance with the Sunshine Law, the board has adopted uniform meeting procedures, including the right for citizens to participate. The board will allow public comment regarding any work session item listed on today's agenda at the appropriate time. Speakers must fill out a request form and hand it to the school board secretary. After the board and superintendent have completed their discussion on a particular agenda item, the secretary will call the speakers' names in the order received. At the podium, speakers are asked to state their full name and address and to spell their last name. Each speaker will have 3 minutes. As required by the Sunshine Law, the board must maintain orderly conduct and proper decorum throughout this meeting. Speakers may criticize subject matter and decisions in a respectful manner, but not people. Finally, speakers must be very careful not to violate the privacy rights of others, especially students and their family members, by mentioning their names or other identifying information. Thank you for your attention to these important rules.
We'll now begin the special work session with the superintendent's administrative briefing.
None today, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mayor. We have on the line Ray and Associates, and so we're going to be doing this telephonic video, or whatever you call it, but we're going to be on Skyping. Okay, so Ms. Jarrow, can you announce yourself?
Good afternoon.
Yeah, go ahead. Good afternoon.
Nice to see all of you, and I have Al Johnson with me, one of the members of our team. And if you don't have anything else, Chairman Cummings, we'll go ahead and get started.
Please go ahead.
Okay. And so if we're successful today, we have 4 objectives. That one, we want to be able to share the information with all of you that we gathered during our community stakeholder meetings and input meetings on the 14th and 15th of January. To share the survey results with you, as well as comments, and we won't go into all of the comments, but we'll make certain that you get all 52 pages of them. We want to, as a result of the survey, we want to come to consensus as a board of what you see as the top 10 to 12 qualities that you're looking for in your next superintendent, and we'll help guide you through that. And then our final objective is to finalize our promotional flyer, that we will take those qualities and the characteristics, and we'll go through so we can finalize your flyer and agree on your salary, recommended salary range, and so that we can start finalize that flyer tomorrow and put it out for recruiting purposes. So any questions on our objectives so far?
No, ma'am.
All right, awesome. So, Mr. Johnson, I wanted to start off first with, we told you that we would be your eyes and ears, as the board requested that you wanted community input. And so we had five members of our team present on the 14th and 15th, and we were throughout Marion County. We enjoyed our time in every corner of the county. And we wanted to start off first with sharing some strength about your school district that we heard from people. Mr. Johnson, do you want to start first, or would you like me to?
Why don't you start?
All right. So we heard repeatedly, over and over, that your teachers and your administrators are extremely dedicated. And we heard that you're to be commended for the large variety of program offerings for different high school students, and that every single high school student should feel like they've got a choice, someplace that they fit for high school choices. We heard over and over about your strong public education foundation and how supportive they are of the Marion County schools. Al?
Yeah, I would add to that the emphasis that Marion County was a very close-knit county and very much family-oriented, and there are a lot of discussions about the great quality of life. I would like to emphasize the one bit about the CEP and the strong support, which I believe is going to be a great selling point for us.
And so Al leads into the positives of the community. I'm sure that you're okay. We asked one of the other questions that we asked all the community members. Tell us what you brag about when you think of Marion County, because as we go out recruiting throughout the nation, why would a candidate want to relocate themselves and their family to Marion County? And besides some of the obvious as far as your geographic location and the weather, but you are right in the middle where you can get to the beaches on either side. You're close to Disney, to Tampa, to Jacksonville, to Orlando, but you still have that small town feeling. And we heard repeatedly over and over, family still matters here. And it's a great place to raise kids. They talked about the quality of life, the many cultural opportunities, and that this area is growing, and it's a great time for somebody to be coming here. Did I say the horse capital of the world? We talked about that. The many outdoor activities, the rivers, the springs, the forests, there's so many, such a wide variety of outdoor activities for people to participate in. And we also heard over and over that the business community and the chambers, they're all very supportive of the schools and are really very anxious to really jump in and support the new superintendent coming in. Al, was there anything else that you had with more positives from the community?
No, that was about it.
Okay. So then we asked the questions, what are the qualities that you're looking for in the next superintendent? And so when we compiled, we went to 22 different meetings, and over and over we heard they're looking for someone who is professional, someone who's a team builder, someone who is collaborative, a person of integrity, someone who is trustworthy, someone who has a strong ability to communicate with all stakeholders, whether they be in the district or outside of the district, a person who is consistent, a people person, a person who's a relationship builder, a good listener, and they also are looking for someone who's very accessible and visible in the community and a systems thinker. Did I miss anything else?
The only thing I think was that somebody who would recognize and deal immediate with the local morale in the district, particularly teacher morale.
Yes. So as we lead into this next part, Al's touching on when we asked every single group, what are some of the critical issues? We always tell a new superintendent when you come into this chair that we want you to be a sponge, and we want you to take in, we want you to establish relationships, build rapport, and we want you to not make any necessary changes right immediately. But we also know that there's certain things that are going to face this new superintendent day one, and they're not going to have the luxury of waiting 90 days, through a 90-day plan to address some of these things. So one of the questions we posed to each of our groups is, what are some critical issues that a new superintendent is going to face day one? And when we go back to our objective, when you asked us to go out and be your eyes and ears in the community, and so our job was to go out there and to be listeners and to gather information as an independent party. And if we report back to you exactly what we heard, we wouldn't be doing our job for you, and we wouldn't be doing our job to the community that we listened to in the 22 different meetings. So we're going to share some common themes, which we believe is important for a new superintendent to know coming into this job. And we feel strongly that today is a new beginning for as we move forward with building trust. Because one of the common themes that we heard over and over is that there is a trust issue here with the current administration and with its employees, whether custodians, teachers, principals, district people. So that over and over, we heard repeatedly that people expressed fear, that fear is real, that there's a fear of retaliation, that if somebody speaks up, that there's fear with that. An example that I can give you, we had several people, and I've never had this in previous situations, people did not want to sign in on our sign-in sheet. And I had several people asking me, where's the sign-in sheet going to go? Who's going to see this sign-in sheet? And I tried to reassure them, this is strictly for our office, for us to collect how many people that we've talked to. So when I tell you, or when we look at the number of people that signed in, I can tell you that there's many people that came that didn't sign in, that they still didn't feel comfortable. I had some people say, I'm fearful to be here today because I feel like I could get non-reappointed between now and the end of the year if somebody finds out that I was at this meeting. So I share those things with you simply for you to know, perception is reality. So a critical issue that a superintendent's going to be walking into is they're going to have to be, there's going to have to be a need for healing and for building trust. We heard repeatedly a need for stability. That there's been lots of change, that or assistant principals will up and move for no reason, teachers possibly. And so they said that there had always been a family feeling in this county prior to maybe the last 4 years, and that that's not the case. They said that there's a lack of processes and systems in place so that a new superintendent is going to be faced with that on day one. There are concerns with the financial health of the district, that is something that will hit a superintendent on day one. They talked about the teacher shortage, and that they felt that they know that that's a nationwide issue, but they know that that's also very real in Marion County. Al, have I missed anything?
A couple of other things. One, that they felt that there was a real need for healing in the district. That was mentioned on several occasions. And also a fair and consistent leadership development selection program. And there they were talking about the process used to identify principals, that it was not, felt that it was not a fair process, and that there was not a clearly articulated vision in the district, and that teachers were not valued. So that is something that the person is going to have to address. And also the issue of visibility, and that is visibility in all of the communities, that the new person coming in is going to have to invest a lot of time outside of the office. And the issue of micromanagement from the central office. I think teacher pay was also mentioned. But those are, I think, the primary themes.
And one of the other things that we heard, and I'm a strong believer that out of some of our biggest challenges come our biggest opportunities for success. And while we heard that businesses, community agencies have not always felt welcome in the school system, I heard repeatedly, and I know some of my peers said the same thing, that all of these businesses, these community agencies, these different groups are ready to jump in and support a new superintendent, and they are more than ready to give resources, give their time. So I think we've got, while we will be sharing with superintendent candidates some of their challenges, we've got some real positives to share with them about you've got community and business support that's ready to jump in to help you be successful. Any questions so far?
No.
No.
And I think I'd like to go back to the issue that Sandy talked about, the fear. I had several people come up to me after the meetings and sort of whisper in my ear because they had a concern that there might be somebody in the audience that was, quote unquote, a reporter to take information back.
And not necessarily, they weren't referring to a reporter as in media,
No.
reporting back to the senior administration. Okay. So when we gather the information that we heard collectively, group, I'm going to share my screen, and I believe you have these. There's 3 handouts that you've got in front of you, because in addition to, can you see my screen where it says Marion County Public Schools?
Yes.
Okay. You should have 3 handouts in front of you. And I'll go through these because you've got raw scores. Let's see if my screen's going to work for us now. It's going to lock up. Locking up on me. Well, if you look at you've got 2 pages. You've got the raw scores, and then you've got the consultant ranking. So this goes back to the survey, the online survey that we did for all of your constituents. Anybody in Marion County or outside of that was interested could take this. If you go across the top, you will see all of the different groups. You see the 757 teachers completed the survey, 128 administrators, 286 support staff, 640 parents, 7 students, and 255 non-parent community members completed this form. And then you've got the Board of Ed that completed it on the end. Then if you look down on the right column, numbers 233, these are the different characteristics that people could rank. And if you remember, we asked you to pick 10. So just for observation purposes to see if we're on the right page, if you look at quality number 5, inspires trust, self-confidence, and models high standards. And if you go across and look at that, you can see that 508 teachers ranked that as important, and it ranked number 3 as far as the teachers.
Okay.
Does that make sense how I'm explaining that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, and you can look through and you can see some things. What we've done on page 2, and I don't know why my screen is locked. Right now I can't. All we've done on the next page. Right. So there we go. On the next page, here we go. What we've done on this is we have simply compiled all of the groups and put the ranking so that we take out the sheer size factor because we don't want one group to weigh more than another. So what we've done is we've just kind of made a level playing field, and this is the sheet that will help as we guide our discussion with our top 10 to 12 qualities. So if you look on the ranking sheet and look at item number 1, willing to listen to input but is a decision maker. Our suggestion is that because if you look across, teachers rank that in the top 10. They ranked at 7. Administrators ranked at 7. Support staff ranked it as a 4. Parents ranked it as 11. Student 14. Non-parent community marked it as a 6. And board members ranked it as a 12. Our recommendation to you, because it's fairly high, is we might want to combine that quality with number 13 possesses excellent people skills, and presents positive district image. Because if you go across the column, you will see that ranked up in the top 10 for every single group with the exception of PE. Do you follow me?
Yes.
Anybody that's got a question on how I walked you through that?
No.
No.
Perfect. So if
Yeah,
you-
the important thing here is that the larger group doesn't influence the smaller group. The rankings eliminate the size as a determinant.
So if you look on the second to the last column from the right, you'll see the consultant recommendation. And it also, you've got the page that says Marion County Public Schools seeks a superintendent who, and we've got in red letters recommend, and then we've listed it, so it's just two different ways to look at it. What we'd like to hear from this group is, so we are recommending that you include in your flyers qualities 1, 2, 5, 8, 11, 13, 15, 17, 20, 25, 30, 32, and 33. And that's based simply on the numbers that came back when the surveys were completed. We're open for discussion with your group. And you'll see where we've got some that you combine. We combined 1 with 13, combined 5 and 25.
5, 17, and 25?
Yes.
That's all bullet point number 3.
Yes, all bullet point number 3. Yes.
Is there any that you look at here that you think, gosh, either why did we pick it or is there one left off? Because there's no set number, no two searches are the same. We're simply just looking at the raw data and what comes to the top. So we can add or take out because you have the ultimate decision.
And what you will see from the ranking sheet is that there's very strong agreement across the various subgroups, and where there is an outlier, we can explain why that group would not necessarily agree with the other group. But there was fairly good consistency on all of these the factors.
Right.
My only concern with the last one has classroom experience. If we're looking for that non-traditional candidate and we don't want to knock them out, I'm concerned that that one
Would disqualify.
might do it. So, not that I don't think that's important, but that's the least important in my mind for a superintendent of schools.
And I will second that, Ms. McCall, because that is not one that I checked, because for that very same reason. That if we do go to a non-traditional, exactly the way I thought, that this would not be something that's required. I believe we have 3,000 teachers that can help to advise and has classroom experience.
I'm with you guys, but I'm also looking at the other chart. That was number 1 for
Where?
teachers.
Well, but
That was number 1 among teachers.
Teachers.
But
That was
not with other
this
groups.
is something that Sandy and I had discussed.
Yeah.
Because if you look at item number 14, for example, you will see that most of the groups rank looking at non-traditional candidates pretty low, but for the board it was a pretty important thing. And when in all of the groups that we met with, there was pretty much consistency that the person should have some teacher experience or a strong administrative educational background. But when we went to the CEP and the foundation, we got stronger support for not necessarily somebody that had been a traditionalist.
I don't think we want to exclude anybody that may not have classroom experience.
Right, and that's my concern about putting it on.
our bullet form.
Is there another way that we can state? I don't know,
Maybe a preference.
Yes, I hear exactly what you're saying. And we don't want to eliminate those non-traditional candidates. So, one, you can take it off completely. We could put a comment like classroom experience welcome.
Didn't make that out? What'd you say?
We couldn't understand you, Sandy.
I'm sorry. You can either eliminate it completely because, like Al said, when you look at number 14, that was in the top 12 for all of your board members. Now, the rest of your community had it ranked extremely low. So you could put classroom experience welcomed, and we could combine that with something else. Or maybe you want to consider adding number 14 in for one of your bullet points, because that was collectively with your board number 12.
Yeah. See, number 14 says non-traditional hybrid,
Background in business or education, and then you could still put,
and still leave that one in.
classroom welcome.
Okay, I could go for that.
You guys?
So you're talking about adding us another bullet?
So adding number 14, which is the non-traditional or hybrid with background in business and/or education, and then leaving classroom experience welcomed.
We could take off 33, like we could combine 33 with 14.
Combine
So we
them.
could put
Oh,
right
okay.
at the end,
Combine them.
experience welcome, so that.
I think we
Yeah, I
can,
think we need to probably soften, I don't want to make it that it is an absolute requirement.
Right, and that's why I think if we add in 14,
right,
we'll get the board judges that we consider that non-traditional or hybrid, but we'll
To say we
still-
will consider persons with non-traditional
You bet.
background. Yeah.
Absolutely.
and I think
Does that
way we're including what our teachers, because our teachers' input was valuable.
It's
We
valuable.
want to hear what they have to say, so we're not going to disclude anybody's opinion, and I think that covers it. You guys agree?
I agree, and I love how these laid out.
Yes.
It's very much in line with, I think, what we're looking for, and I think it'll help sell it. Good job.
What about considering
Good.
where
Well,
it
that's
says,
all your group did.
yeah, what about considering where it says, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullet down, it says is strongly committed to a student-first philosophy in all decisions, and then consider putting in 14 right under that, non-traditional or hybrid with background in business and or education, classroom experience welcome. Because in the end, it is about meeting the kids' needs in the classroom and graduating functional, contributing citizens.
And you'll see, Ms. Thrower, when we'll do, because we can put those bullet points together, because we'll show you on the flyer when we get to that, but absolutely, we can put that together.
Okay, yeah, because I will share that, otherwise, I'm not comfortable with having classroom experience all the way at the bottom. I mean, after all, this is a school system.
Well, I think, and I'm with Ms. Thor on this, that we probably need to rearrange the order
Right.
of these as, for the flyer. Because I would think, me personally, I would want to see student-first philosophy in all decisions first. I want that to be one of
that
the
too.
first bullet on an advertisement.
We want to renumber them?
Well, they're all
That's
just
up to you
bullets right
guys.
now, they're not numbered.
They're not in
but
the
we
order.
won't
They
order
number
them.
in the order.
Yeah.
Well, and it might help you to go ahead, and we're jumping ahead, but that's all right. If you look at your sample flyer for Marion County, the second page or the back page,
Right,
this is where we don't number them, but
Right.
we'll put the bullet points here, Marion County School System Superintendent. So if
Okay.
you look at that, and these are sample, these are not the ones, because at the time we put this together, we didn't have all of your information compiled,
right,
but we adjust it. So we can we purposely don't rank them numerically because we think they're all important, but we
Right.
can make certain, you say the student-first philosophy wants to be the first bullet.
right.
I think that's important.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the one we want to see first because it's about the students. That's definitely what
We're wearing pins that say so.
children first.
for conversation, will you look at, Alan, I noticed, look at quality number 6, strong communication, listening, and writing. And if you look at all of your constituents, they had it ranked within the top 5. I guess parents had it 6. Board had it ranked 21. And that may have simply been, I mean, I don't know, your thinking on that. Al and I caught this afterwards when we looked at it, but you may want to consider it would fit in nicely with number 30, promotes a positive professional environment for district employees and
Yes,
board,
yes.
and is a strong communicator.
Yes. Combining 6 and 30?
That's for your discussion.
Combining 6 and 30?
I'm good
Yes.
with that.
I'm good with that.
Am I correct that you probably wanted number 6?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I thought after talking with you. So we'll combine 6 and 30?
Please.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, and if we've got consensus on that, so we'll use those qualities on the flyer. Then, our next spot is, as we look at the draft flyer that we put together, the biggest thing that we need for you to come to agreement on is what do you want to advertise as your salary range? Your situation's a little different because you currently have an elected superintendent. That salary has been set by the Florida State Legislature. So we put together, you should see 2 handouts, regional comparisons for superintendents in the regions around Florida, and I think we've got a Georgia and Alabama school district. And then we have a national comparison as well. If you look regionally, comparing yourself to St. John's, Manatee, St. Lucie, Alachua, in Georgia County there in Montgomery, similar enrollment, the average salary that they're looking at is $183,000. If you look at national salary comparisons with sizes for Marion compared to Marion, if you look through those, and you've got Collier, Seminole, Osceola, Sarasota, and then you've got some others out of state,
Right.
but they're similar enrollment, you're looking at 259. So we want to hear from you as far as your discussion. We recommend coming up with one number. You don't want to say between 185 and 259 because anybody's going to come in and say, oh, I want the 259.
Sure.
But we suggest picking one number, and if it's, 210, if it's 200, we would advertise on that flyer on the second page. The salary will be in the range, and we wrote 300,000 there just to get people's attention to know we have to get approval. That's not the salary we're recommending. But then you can, as a board, depending on experience, you can go up or you can go down with that. But we want to hear your discussion.
The county that's not on here that's exactly the same size as ours is Lake, and their starting base, I don't know what it is for 1920, but 1890, their starting base, I believe, was 195. And we had looked at other comparables, I think Seminole being one,
That's on there.
Seminoles on.
and I think
What about Polk?
Sarasota's our
Sarasota was the other one. And so we were kind of feeling out between 195 and about 205 or 210, something like that.
And I
So,
think you see Seminole, Sarasota on that national page.
Yes, Seminole and Sarasota are both on here.
And Sarasota's got much.
Sarasota's at 208.
so let me ask you this. Do you know how long has the superintendent been in Sarasota County? Do you know?
I know that they are in the process of, they have an interim superintendent right now. I believe the superintendent that was there previously had been there for 2 years, but I don't know. They have a current interim superintendent right now.
just fired their superintendent.
Yeah.
How about the one in Collier? How long has that one been there?
Dr. Patton's been there for a while.
Yeah.
So he's at that salary.
Didn't
Al,
Dr.
do you know
Patton come
how
from
many years she's
Jacksonville
been there?
Boulevard?
But I think
No.
we need to think about,
I think we need a good range to be competitive, and I'm about where you are.
Al, do you have
Ms.
some
McCollum.
thoughts as far as our recommendation for range?
Well, if you would ask me, I'd be in somewhere in the 200 to 215.
I'm thinking 215.
I'm thinking
Somebody who
215
comes in,
because we have
they're-
a lot to do here.
I had a range, my range was 190 to 215, so.
205 to 215
well, let's,
is what I
but
was
let's
thinking.
think about, that's the base salary, and
You gotta add on.
And then each year we'll have to add on, and there will be, they'll have performance measures that we can also pay, after the first year. And so let's not just think base salary, let's think about those incremental move up, that percentage increase, whatever it'll be, those incentive, whatever you want to call them, bonuses, that many of them do get. So there's more than just the base salary. So I would be comfortable at a 200 to 205 to start. And then, of course, it's up to contract negotiations. What we don't want to be is a training ground, as we have said before. We want somebody to come in and stay a while. So if we need to go to 210, I think 215 is too high right now. But
We definitely need to be.
I really would like to do a salary range rather than a number, but you're the experts in this. Can you tell me why you would give one number versus a range?
Well, and look,
Well,
go ahead, Al.
I think it allows us more room for negotiation. But the mere fact is, if you give a range, if you say 195 to 205, I'll tell you every candidate will look at 205.
Right.
The
And if
way
you
I
look
look
the
at it,
wording on that
the way I look at it
back
is,
page,
But if we say, because the wording on the flyer is in the range of 205, if that were the number that we saw, obviously, if we got out there and we found a superstar that we had to pay 210, then we would have to pay 210.
right, okay. The way I look at it is, if we get someone who is just a turnaround genius, we're spending about $4 million a year right now in schools with extended days and failure. $250,000 is a deal if we get someone who can save us $4 million a year on the other side. I'm for right now giving you guys, I would support, okay, we start at 205,000, but if you found a superstar, you need to talk to us. I think this board, do I really want to settle for mediocrity?
No.
Just be with everybody
No.
kind of right here. I want to stand out of a district that's serious about getting the best.
I think, I'm looking at
Yeah.
this, looking at what some of these other comparable counties, Seminole County is at estimated 210. So I think if you guys say in the range of 205, I think we're in the good, that gives us room to negotiate up if we need to. But I
Yeah,
don't
or
think
we
need
will
to-
be a training ground.
Yeah, we don't want to outsource, we don't want to cost ourselves, but we need to make sure that we get somebody that's going to be good and someone that's going to be reputable and someone that's not going to be a training ground that's just coming through for a season.
And maybe that's why Collier County, they've got a high salary on here and they've
Well, no,
had
he's
them
been
in
there.
a long
He's-
time.
Yeah, he's been there a long
He's
time.
been there a long time.
Yeah.
And, that's how you keep them. It keeps them from being a training ground is
Well, I think if you looked at it in standpoint of if you were at the 205, for example, and one of the board members mentioned, if you got the person on board, that you could create some kind of an incentive program based on student performance
Right,
Absolutely.
that could provide additional pay.
right.
But any of these candidates, there are going to be certain things that are part of the normal superintendent package anyway that that will be subject to negotiation, but outside of this discussion about the initial salary, for car allowance, for example, or would there be any moving allowance?
Allowances,
Those would be outside of what we're trying to get as a figure that would allow us to get the right people in the door.
Right. And I like performance incentives a lot. And I also like a base salary that's going to catch the good people's eyes. So I'd be willing to go slightly higher than 205, actually, to open the door and make it look like Marion County is serious, and willing to compensate without breaking the bank. But point well taken, Ms. Stacy, at the money that we're spending already, and hopefully that can be changed. That's the plan.
Well, when you look at, and I'm looking at us as a school district, but I'm looking at other agencies within the county, municipal agencies. I think we just.
Chairman Cummings, we can't hear you quite as well. If you can move your mic a
I'm
little closer.
considering, considering this is a county position, countywide position, but I'm also considering the municipalities in the area. I think we're just paying our interim city manager about $200,000. So if you put them at 205 and give that range, we're being comparable to the area.
Yep.
We're not going beyond where we are as an area. Of course, if we get someone that's a superstar,
Right.
we have the flexibility to move. I think we haven't closed
That's
off
correct.
that.
And I guess,
But we need to have a somewhere.
But this person, the city, I don't even know how many employees they've got. They don't have anything like as many. This man's going to have 7,000 employees. The city manager's got, I don't know how many.
43,000 students.
Maybe 50,000 employees. I don't know.
I think if we say in the range of 205, that is an attractive salary to get people in the door. If there's a superstar out there that says, I can't do it for that, that's one of the reasons we've hired Ray and Associates to come back to us and say,
Absolutely.
so.
To bump it to
I think that
210.
sounds great.
I would like to go to 210 start.
On that,
I agree. I like the thought of putting 210, so at least we can catch their eye. And, and it's just
I'm fine with
a
that.
range, so we could.
So the range of 210,
Because they
we have agreement?
To come in.
we have
Yes.
agreement.
Yes.
Okay.
Ms.
So it's
McCall's
going to-
point
the
was
salary
very
will
well
be in the
taken,
range
too,
of
that that's what we're hiring them
210,000.
for. To
And we'll
then,
still know that we can
Word out
talk
that-
with you. I believe we have achieved all of our objectives.
I think we have to look at the revised timeline. Is there a revision to the timeline?
Thank you for bringing that up, Reverend Cummings. Depending on what your pleasure is, when I spoke with Molly, we're just 1 week behind because we adjusted instead of the 21st to the 28th. If your pleasure, if you'd like, we can either back it up so that we can make our flyers obviously won't go out until tomorrow, but we could still be on track for April 2nd because it still gives us, a good 40 days or more, but we can also back it up. That's the board, depends on your wishes.
I think if we can keep it to the timeline that we've got, I think we need to do that.
Right.
That still gives us, we have all of February, all of March, that's 2 months.
Yep. And they'll have until the end of March, like March 22nd. They'll be probably after spring break for a lot of people too, for their deadline. And then we'll be back on track for April 2nd, if that's
Yep.
Sounds
your
good.
wishes. So we will make the changes to the flyer, and tomorrow we will send out, we've got 160 associates throughout the United States. They will all be getting a flyer about Marion County so that they can start networking with people that they know to see these are qualities that Marion County is searching for in a new superintendent. And Al and I are super excited because we've already had lots of people express interest. And as hard as it is to share sometimes if there's things that, that don't feel warm and fuzzy at the time, I just think out of all of our biggest challenges come our greatest opportunities for success. And I think we're moving forward with rebuilding trust today. in Marion County, and we're excited about the possibilities. We're going to have somebody great. Our job is to make your job hard and bring several people to you.
Awesome. Should we?
And the other thing I'd like to close with is that you probably noticed with those the internet surveys that were done, we got a lot of comments. And I would suggest that the board members take some time to read through those comments because they're very rich in content. So much so that we would make sure that we turn over these comments when we get the new superintendent.
Okay.
And that it will fulfill our promise to the constituents that, you know, whatever we glean from the surveys and from the constituent meetings that we had, that we would be openly sharing that with the board.
Can you guys give us the link so that those who did not get the comments, those in the community would be able to access the comments? I understand the comments were very lengthy. I think it was about 50-something pages. So is there a link that you guys can give us that we can put out there so they
Yes,
can
I will.
get those comments?
I will follow up with you, Chairman Cummings, before this afternoon is over, and I'll give you a link. And I'm so thankful Al added that because I had it written down here and I missed it. But you have it's 52 pages of comments, and it's very tiny font. But it's on your computer. You can certainly enlarge it. And like you said, we did tell all of the people that we would any of the comments, that they're coming strictly from your community. So it'll definitely be something that you'll want to read through and take heart. And I'm so thankful you gave it to me, Al. And Chairman Cummings, I will get that emailed to you within the hour.
I have one more thing. I wonder if somewhere on the flyer, I mean, you heard from the business community the strong support they have for us. Would we need to put something on the flyer about that? That might be very attractive to somebody.
Sure.
Maybe
Yes,
under,
that's a good point.
I mean, because
Under our
it is
city.
incredibly supportive, and that is not, I mean, we're kind of an anomaly. It's not that way in every community,
Who's supportive?
So
the
true.
business community.
So true.
Right.
Right.
And we
Yeah, that was
have a very
the
strong
one group
public education
that I
foundation.
interviewed, and I share your comments.
And a very strong public education foundation as well. That could be attractive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that for a bullet.
Can you guys hear us? I think if you put those two things, those two items under the About Us section on that flyer,
Right.
that would be ideal so that the candidate would see that what we have as a school
Sure.
district, but we also have, not only as a school district, but we have strong business support for us and
Yeah, the
support
CEP
from
and the
district.
foundation, yes.
Yes.
And a very strong
Claire?
foundation.
Yes, clarify, do you want it in the gray box about us, or do you want it in our city?
I
Put it
think
in About Us.
About Us,
I agree with Dr.
as well as,
I can do- we can
as
do
well
that.
as I think also in About Us, I think you need to put in there how many students we have in the district, as well as how many staff members we have, teachers and the whole.
Right, because from folks coming from other states, candidates, their districts are a lot smaller typically.
And you do have our
We will
demographics,
add
right?
that with the number of students and number of staff.
Right.
Right.
Where it jumps out.
And I think I see on here, you do have the population of Marion County based on the 2000 census that's on there. That's at the very bottom
Yeah.
in our city.
Reverend-
Do we need to say our city, or do we need to say our county?
Our county.
It's our county.
Our county, good
Yes.
Right,
catch.
because we are Marion County Schools.
Reverend Cummings, if I
Yep.
could make a suggestion that one of the board members kind of proofs it before it goes
Yes.
live.
Can we, before you send it out, we'd like to have one of the board members proof it, one of you guys. Ms. McCall is
We
going
can do
to,
that. And how about,
Ms.
Chairman
McCall,
Cummings, do you want me to send it to you first thing in the morning?
Yes.
Or,
yes.
okay,
If you send it to all of us, you can send it to all of us,
okay, all right.
but Ms. McCall will be the one that will touch base with you.
And I think we have
All right.
closer to 350,000 people
Yeah.
In the
That's on the
county.
2000
in the
census.
county.
That wasn't the 2010 census.
So we need to get the numbers right
Yeah.
on the census. numbers.
I think Kevin might can help with that.
Okay?
Yeah,
Which
Mr.
number
Christian can help with
do you
that.
think we're on?
Also sent to Mr. Christian.
I will do that.
We got a good guy sitting right here at the table. We got to make sure he's involved in this.
He has been amazing to work with, and we did our dry run yesterday and very, very helpful. Just like, I mean, we found all of your community members just delightful to interact with and really care about your school district, so we're excited.
Thank you.
Thank you. There is one more point that I wanted to bring up for the rest of the board to consider as well, and it has to do with the integrity of this whole process and how much it means to the community for it to be perceived in that way, in this way. And I was reading about Volusia County's search, and it was quoted in one of the newspapers that they took a strict hands-off policy, that they let it be known at board meetings that board members, individual board members, did not wish for applicants to contact them directly. And they went as far as to take a vow that each individual board members would not reach out to potential candidates to ask them to throw their hat in the ring, so to speak. And I feel like that's important for us to consider, especially since this is our very first time, especially since we've contracted with one of the most professional companies, if the not most professional company in this business, to make sure that the public understands that you guys are the ones taking the leading role and that all of these inquiries and interests should be filtered through you, not through individual board members. I'd love to get your input.
Well, I know.
Well, we covered that specifically in every one of the sessions that we had.
Right, and I know that was a serious concern with some of the folk that I talked to. So I think for the record that if people are gonna start calling us today.
We need to say.
And we need to direct them to Ray and
Ray and
Associates.
Associates.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We appreciate you bringing that up because, Ms. Thrower, anybody and any names that you think of, and you've already given us names when we did one-on-one meetings, things like that, but any names that you hear, you can funnel them right straight to Chairman Cummings. He can contact us. You can reach out. You've got our cell numbers if you need to, but you bring up such a valid point, and it makes for so much more of a pure search if candidates do not feel like they can reach out to individual board members, and it does not put any of you in an uncomfortable situation, and we will continue to be your eyes and ears and mouthpiece and recruit for you so that you don't have to make any comments, get involved until we get to the point where you're screening candidates.
Well, I think that's needed. If we're gonna have fidelity in this process, that has to be done. And I know I believe the other board members feel the same way in that aspect, that we want to keep it, as transparent as possible, and we not be involved in that process till the need gets to us.
That's why we hired you.
Yep.
Yep,
So it sounds like we're unanimous.
we are unanimous.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay, so we ready to roll.
All right.
We're ready to rock and roll.
And like I said,
Thank you so much, and have a great afternoon.
we will look forward to that link, because I know the community is going to be asking for that link for those comments from the community. One more thing, for the record, can you go ahead and say how many surveys were completed?
Well, let's see here.
Did she put it on?
Yep, well,
She didn't say it. She didn't say it.
total.
I think that's important for the community to know.
Yes, it was. And I'll get you the exact number because it was more than 2,000. Let's see here. I've got to double check with the actual number. It was more than 2,000, and I will. Let's see here.
You got a calculator there, Sandy, you can go across the
I've got it
top.
right here because I know Molly sent it to us in another spot, but I'll tell you.
If you can send that, if you can email that to Eric, he can actually announce that at our board meeting tonight. In
Tonight.
his comments, he can tell
It
the
was 2073.
2073?
2073, yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you so much.
And I would say that the constituent meetings what would you say the average? Around 15 maybe?
I believe Fort McCoy High School is the only one that we did not have anybody come to that meeting. It was just our consultant and one of the administrators. But all of the other meetings, we had nice turnout, and ranged anywhere from 5 to 20.
Good.
Like I said, some of those people didn't sign in, but
Yeah, my smallest I think was 3, and my largest around 20 some. But again, to mention, we had 5 people on the ground in all of those 24 sessions and
22.
Exactly.
22 sessions.
It's important.
And we gave everybody an opportunity, and I think that's what was important.
Right, and it did happen fast, but,
That's the most important thing, that we gave everybody an opportunity to speak.
That makes
And
me
I
feel
heard many
good.
positive comments.
Maybe they have confidence
People
in
were
this board.
thankful.
we'll look at it that way.
Well, they were appreciative of the board for having the meetings.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thank
All right, I
you.
look forward to working with you. Take care.
Absolutely.
Bye. All right.
Before we close this, any questions? Any
Goodbye.
comments?
Good.
Any motion, any adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Ms. McCall, seconded by Ms. Throer. Meeting adjourned, work session adjourned at 4:19 PM.
So we take about a 10-minute break, and then we got to go back into.
Yes.
I was gonna not let y'all run out.
No, can we just do a 10?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I would love that.